Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely incredible: ecosystem dynamics. If you've ever walked through a forest, played in a local park, or even just watched the birds outside your window, you've actually seen an ecosystem at work. But here's the real secret: what you're looking at is never just standing still. Today, we're going to break down exactly how and why the natural world around us is literally in a constant state of motion. Okay, let's dive right into this. The very first thing we really need to wrap our heads around is that ecosystems are never exactly the same. They're always changing. Think of nature less like a frozen photograph and way more like a movie that's constantly playing. Every single minute, every day, and every year, the environment out there is shifting, adjusting, and completely transforming itself. Section 1. What are ecosystem dynamics? Let's look at the basics of nature's community. To really grasp how this all works, let's start with a core definition. Ecosystem dynamics simply refers to the continuous changes over time in a community of living things and their environment. The absolute key word there is continuous. This isn't just some one-time event we're talking about. Plants are growing taller, animals are constantly moving around looking for food, the weather patterns are shifting, even the dirt and soil are changing. All of these moving parts interacting together, the living creatures and the non-living environment, that whole shebang is what we call ecosystem dynamics. Moving on to Section 2. Why do ecosystems change? Let's check out the 5 main drivers. So what actually causes all these changes to happen in the first place? Well, there are basically 5 main drivers pushing change in any given ecosystem. First up, living organisms are constantly going through their life cycles, right? They grow, they reproduce, they eat, and eventually they die. A tiny fawn growing into an adult deer totally changes how much food it takes from the forest. Second, the overall climate changes over time, bringing in completely different temperatures and weather patterns. Third, we have the regular, predictable change of the seasons. Fourth, natural disasters like fires, floods, and huge storms can transform a landscape in an instant. And finally, human influence. When we build roads or farms, we change nature in some really massive ways. Every single ecosystem is being shaped by these 5 forces every single day. All right, Section 3. Let's zoom in on daily and seasonal changes, those short and medium-term shifts. The most immediate change happens right in front of us every 24 hours, the shift between day and night. Living things behave completely differently depending on what the sun is doing. During the day, sunlight pours down, plants use that light to make their food, and animals like rabbits and birds are super active. But the moment night falls and darkness takes over, the whole system flips. A lot of those daytime animals go to sleep, and a completely different crew of nocturnal animals, like owls and hedgehogs, wake up and take over. It's almost like the ecosystem is operating on 2 completely different shifts. Now, if we zoom out just a little bit to a medium-term view, we see seasonal changes. Seasons totally rewrite the rules for the weather, the temperature, and daylight, which drastically affects the plants and animals. In spring, plants sprout and animals have their babies. By summer, the warm weather brings rapid growth and, insects are just everywhere. Then comes autumn. Leaves change color and drop, and animals really start hustling to prepare for the cold. Finally, winter arrives, bringing freezing weather, slowing everything way down, and sending some animals into hibernation. It's wild to think about, but the exact same forest looks and acts completely differently across these 4 seasons. Section 4. Let's move to long-term population changes and see decades of fluctuation. As we stretch our timeline out even further, we need another really important science term: population. Now, in science, a population isn't just any random group of animals. We're talking strictly about a group of individuals of the same species living in one specific area. So we'd look at the population of rabbits in one specific meadow, or the population of lynx in a particular forest. Now, what's really fascinating is how these different populations actually affect each other over time. It's this intense, ongoing story of cause and effect. Let's look at rabbits and lynx. Lynx are predators that love to eat rabbits. The numbers of these 2 animals actually rise and fall together like a giant wave over the years. When the rabbit population goes up, suddenly there is plenty of food for the lynx. And because the lynx have more food, they have more babies, so their population goes up too. But wait, with more lynx out there hunting, the number of rabbits is inevitably going to start dropping. And once those rabbit numbers go down, well, the lynx have less food, so their numbers eventually drop down as well. This incredible balancing act is a perfect example of long-term ecosystem dynamics. Section 5. Changes in communities and how entire habitats evolve. Let's expand our view from just one or two species to entire communities. Imagine a dense, totally untouched forest with a flowing river maybe 100 years ago. Over a really long period of time, the actual mix of species living in that community can change drastically. Fast forward to today, and some plant and animal species might have completely disappeared from the area, while brand new, completely different species might have arrived and set up shop. The entire landscape literally transforms over time. Now, these massive community-wide transformations don't just happen by accident. They are driven by major landscape-altering events. A massive forest fire, for example, can clear out old, towering trees and make way for entirely new plant species to rise up from the ashes. Or think about changes in water, like if a river completely dries up, or maybe changes its course because of a beaver dam. That totally alters who can survive there. Long-term climate change shifts the baseline temperatures and rainfall. And of course, human activities. Cutting down trees, planting new ones, building cities, we fundamentally reshape communities from what they were many years ago to what they are today. Which brings us to Section 6, protecting our dynamic ecosystems, and why understanding all of this actually matters. So, why does understanding these scientific concepts actually matter to you and me? Why should we care? Well, it matters because understanding these continuous changes is the absolute key to protecting nature. When we know that ecosystems are highly dynamic and super sensitive to things like human influence and changing climates, we can make way better choices. We desperately need these ecosystems to stay healthy because, honestly, they do an incredible amount of work for us. They provide the clean water we drink, the food we eat, the oxygen we breathe, and they provide safe homes for literally all wildlife on Earth. Simply put, if we don't understand how ecosystems change, we can't properly protect them. And that brings us to the end of today's explainer. But before we go, I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Take what we've just uncovered today and apply it to your own neighborhood. Just look out your window or visit a nearby park and ask yourself, can you name one change that happens in an ecosystem near your home? Maybe it's the trees changing with the seasons, or a certain bird population that migrates in the winter. Keep your eyes open, keep exploring nature, and keep watching those amazing dynamics in action. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll catch you next time.